right, welcome to an episode of The Diplomats with our ongoing coverage of the Season 5 Nexus Finals. I'm joined today by Superstition, Stitches, Dawn, a man of many names and pseudonyms. Uh, our sponsor, as always, is diplomacybriefing.com. You can find the very latest in diplomacy news at diplomacybriefing.com, and it's absolutely free. All right. Superstition, how are you? Are you ready to talk about spring 1903?
I'm good. Yeah, I was just talking about how many names I have and how confusing it might be for people who are listening and keep changing my name.
Well, that's good in diplomacy. You're going to keep them off balance. Did you listen to Umbo's podcast?
I have not yet. I need
That's
to.
okay. He didn't listen to yours, I'm sure. So no one's going to be influenced by anybody else. What part of the map do you want to talk about first?
Um, the West seems pretty straightforward, I guess. So let's start there.
Let's start there. The convoy happened.
The convoy happened. It's a little late. Better late than never. They achieved a disband, but they lost some position in Burgundy. But yeah, I still think the build in Berlin would have been better. He could have bounced out or at least applied some kind of pressure. Now he's more on the defensive with that Warsaw unit actually doing something for a change.
All right, so let's try and stick to France first of all, which is
Okay.
Right. So the army in Picardy gets piffed because Burgundy moved to Paris and Picardy couldn't retreat there, and Brest was not an option. But the convoy is successful. They now have units in Germany, and England now have units in Picardy, Belgium, Rouen and Munich with the retreat to Rouen. The French cannot defend Burgundy.
No.
So even though they've given up a little position to get to Picardy, France is starting to slowly crack.
Slowly, they got the shoe in the door. So I think that was definitely Russia's cue to help France. But I think it's looking pretty bad unless France can get some other kinds of pressure, which isn't looking good at the moment.
Now, Umball, since you didn't listen, was highly critical of English play, mainly that England had not moved to the North Atlantic before, and argued strenuously for English Channel taking Mid-Atlantic and getting pressure there. Otherwise, he believes Germany is going to pick up all the spoils of France and keep England weak. What do you think about that?
I think England needs a build really badly just so it can plug up North Atlantic. I don't know where that build's going to be, but I'm not 100% convinced on this just because there's a lot of fear for the French and Russian players, and I think that galvanizes this alliance a lot better. It's a little slow. Both of them need a build right now, I think, but I don't think it's bad.
Yeah, the only order I didn't understand was from England was Norway supporting North.
Yeah, that didn't make much sense to me either, because it isn't going to do anything. You could at least tap STP in case they were trying to reposition, but I don't know. I guess he had nothing else to do with it, but
yeah, I guess that's right. It could have supported Belgium if he was. Oh, I guess Norway can't support Belgium, but yeah.
no.
All right, so now I'm sort of digging the German position here. I heard what you said about Kiel to Berlin, but yeah, they lost Burgundy, but they're in really good shape.
Yeah, Germany's definitely still in a good position. It's got a little extra pressure from Russia that should have happened a while ago, but it's not in a bad spot. I still would have rather had that Berlin being able to move into Prussia or Silesia, but
So what I found very unusual not unusual, but just unexpected to me was the Italian getting German help to support Munich to Tyrolia, which failed because it bounced, and preserve Venice for, well, I mean, it would have preserved anyways with the convoy to Rome, but it allows Tunis to be defended. Uh, what do you think about Germany getting enlisted in this battle?
It seems like there's some kind of writing on the wall where it's either looking like more of an Eastern Triple or that it's a pro-Russian force. I'm assuming that Italy and Germany are close because Italy was actually going to help versus the French assault. So trying to bail Italy out and give them some breathing room will at least, at the very least, preserve German spoils in France long enough for it to be able to pivot east. So I think it was a good move. It was definitely unexpected. I was expecting that Venetian army to go to APU to block the convoy. Uh, I also thought it was unexpected to go to Rome. If you have Venice kind of locked up, why wouldn't you try to go into Naples? But uh,
Yeah, I mean, I think that the thought was, my thinking is he thought the convoy would happen to Apulia,
right,
and not Naples. Now it's sort of problematic because he's not going to take Naples back.
yeah, it's a masterful set because he had to choose between Venice and Naples. I mean, there was just really no other way around it.
So I think Italy, Italy will be able to defend Tunis. But I was wondering if Italy, you would think maybe Tunis doesn't need to be defended this turn, right? That Ionian may support Naples, it, and Naples can be taken for Austria, so Ionian won't move to Tunis. I'm wondering if Italy may try and snag a free one off of Spain here.
That's what I would do. Italy's looking like it's in a bad position. To do that, it would just be a Hail Mary though, because right now all its supply centers are, or home supply centers are covered. So you'd have to move out of Rome to either,
To build.
well, to build. Oh, I guess he's gonna lose one, so he'd just be maintaining. So it puts him way out of position too. It's really tough because then Tunis is open. You either have to decide if you're gonna defend Rome or move back. I don't know. I don't see Spain being a huge opportunity for a build because you won't build.
Right, and it's still two fleets to two in the Med,
Mm-hmm.
with you know Austria probably not being able to build a fleet, and not really known as a naval power, and Turkey with their own issues.
Yeah, at this point, I thought I would probably say that keeping EES or Eastern Mediterranean would have been better, just so you would be able to dislodge that Ionian because they're just going to keep convoying more and more in there. But yeah, it looks bad for Italy. It really does. There's no
Well,
real
I don't
easy way around
know.
it.
Well, help may be eventually on the way. You don't know. Let's move to talking about that Army Kiel moving to Berlin. I think that, well, I think in order to think about Warsaw moving to Silesia, Warsaw finally moved. I think Warsaw was actually thinking it would bounce, that Munich might go to Silesia. And I don't think he expected that move to go through. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think it's a bad thing that it went through either way. I think it was definitely a good move. It puts pressure on there. It's more of a defensive move than an aggressive move. He doesn't have any extra units on Germany, so it pretty much just keeps pressure off of him. I like that
As for
move.
the rest of Russia's moves, the self bounce in Livonia, I
Defend
guess
versus the
to
convoy.
defend versus a convoy. Germany makes no moves against it, which has to disappoint, I think, England. They've made I know that everyone's kind of down on Russia's game right now, but I'm like, what options has Russia really had? They've maybe they didn't make their own luck so far, but first of all, Baltic could have gotten into Bothnia, or Sweden could have gotten into Bothnia. St. Petersburg could have been at issue. There could have been a convoy. I mean, there could have been lots of little things to happen to Russia, but St. Petersburg is safe in 03, unless
Ru-
I'm missing something.
Russia did great because even if there was a convoy to Prussia, the Silesia would have bounced Munich. So there's just nothing that would threaten Warsaw. Livonia being safe keeps SDP mostly safe. I think the Germans really missed out on the support to the Botnian. Uh, it could have put that fleet into Finland and put Russia pretty much out of the game in the north, but it just held, which was really weird again, that both England and Germany still have this level of distrust where they think they're going to get stabbed. And it's a finals game, so I guess it's to be expected, but I just don't see your ally stabbing you for one with the person that they're bottling up. But
What do you think of the Austrian moves here? Convoys the Bulgarian army to Naples, clearly a little distrustful of Turkey still, so moves Serbia to Bulgaria, not Greece. Uh, and Budapest moves down to Serbia. And I guess maybe we should talk about the Rum holding. What does that signal?
uh, I, hmm, I think that the Austrian moves are pretty good if it's moving against Italy, which obviously seems like it's what they're going to do. Feels more Turkey inspired to me. Uh, because moving armies away from Turkey is always a good thing. And right now, if it wants to, I mean, Austria really has to decide between Greece and Bulgaria what to defend if Konk decides to attack, which he needs to build eventually. He's going to have to take one of those two. Um, it could be the time for the Juggernaut to start up. Budapest is open. There's just a lot of openings that Austria is leaving to go fight Italy. So
The Humble, and I'm not trying, Humble doesn't drive the discussion, but just to give you some things of what he was thinking at the fall of 1902 was the deal has to be that Konk gets Bulgaria, is what Humble says. I'm not sure Austria agrees with that, but I would not be surprised to see Army Khan in Bulgaria. And your point is exactly what I'm thinking, which is Austria is getting committed now to Italy. It's got two enemies with Germany and Italy. It's got an army on the boot. I don't think Italy's quite dead yet because nothing Russia did can prevent eventual RT cooperation.
right.
I mean, and that is bad news for Austria, and that is intermediate good news for Italy, long term bad news for Italy.
Yeah, I don't see Bulgaria being given to Turkey. It doesn't make sense unless they're doing an Eastern Triple, which is very, very bad for Austria and Turkey to just let Russia do its thing. But since Russia doesn't have any momentum at the moment, it might not be a horrible idea. But if you're
When
gonna
you
work
say
with
Eastern Triple, are you talking Austria, Russia, Turkey?
correct,
Okay.
yeah, pretty much. If they're all feel like they're under siege, then it's easier to work together. But if you're going to leave Bulgaria, are you going to go for Romania? Are you going to swing back down to Greece and convoy again? I don't know what assurances you have because you can't dislodge Romania. It'll retreat to Budapest, or you'll give your position away in Tyrolia if you don't bounce that again. If Germany's committed to helping, um, and maybe an exchange for Naples. That's the only thing I can think of. But then
Uh,
you're giving away all your position in the east to make up some gains in Italy. Uh, I just it feels bad.
let's tease this out a bit. Here's the map as it stands right now, before the fall moves go through, and of course this won't be released until after the winter of 1903. But what's the best way if there's an RT for it to proceed? uh, there's on the one hand, Bulgaria is definitely got to be considered Turkish territory. But if you're thinking outside the box, you can take Romania. Would Russia trade the black for Romania to Bulgaria, and then get in on the fight and cede the black to Turkey?
I don't think Russia wants any more enemies at this point. It's already got two in the north. I
Well,
think it's
how
just
is
trying
it
to.
best to work with Turkey? How does Russia best work with Turkey? He can support him in to Bulgaria. He can cut Serbian support. Uh, he can make a move on Budapest. There's lots of little, if you're Russia and you wanted to work with Turkey, how do you, what would you think?
I would think sneaking into Budapest would be your best option. It would definitely cripple it, or you could tap Serbia. I'm not sure which one's the best.
I think a lot of that would depend on Germany, right? Because Austria now saw that supported move into Tyrolia bounce. So Vienna and Trieste are tied up.
Hmm.
Serbia may be tied up supporting Bulgaria. So, it's very possible Budapest and Greece uh, might fall if they did that.
Yeah, it's a guessing game for Austria right now. I mean, how friendly are the RT? It's on. It's tough. He really has to
It,
choose, and hopefully there's a prearranged agreement, so these things just shuffle out the way they need to.
well, I'm really proud of Conk. I mean, and I'm not down on Village Idiots as Russia's patient game here because there are a lot of gains and a lot of dots that could be made against Austria, uh, soon. I don't know if that'll happen, and I don't know if relations between Russia and Turkey are so uh, frayed. I don't know if Turkey just said, "I'm losing this game and I'm going to janissary as best I can," but there's only so much that Turkey in this position can janissary to Austria. I mean, the fleet is of no use to Austria at this point. The only thing that Turkey can do to help Austria is to continue to bounce in the black. And I think Conk wants options.
Yeah, it's a really hard position. I would definitely would rather have Turkey have Greece, but that's just me. If you're gonna work with Turkey, if he's just doing a Janissary thing, then he's actually gained a lot of position just in that one turn. Um, I think that's just a stab waiting to happen.
I think Austria got a little greedy personally. I think that uh, if he really wanted cooperation, uh, Austria, I think, would have been smarter to convoy the army in Smyrna to Italy and try and get that unit out in front and apart from its other units as opposed to convoying his own unit.
Right, overextending the Turkish position. And like when this all happened, I thought he should have let Italy overextend by convoying out of Tunis to Syria. Just let him get out of there, and that puts the Italian position even worse. But yeah, I think he stabbed a season too soon. But yeah,
Yeah,
I still don't like the Austrian position at all. I didn't like it before. It's but
it was tempting. My theory here, Stitches, is this: that was a perfectly fine stab for Austria in a gunboat game
mm-hmm.
when can't control. When Italy, Russia, and Turkey can't coordinate. But in a finals game where there's literally thousands of words being exchanged daily, he's too susceptible. Now there are definitely two powers against him in Germany and Italy, and I think personally that the German not moving in on the Russian position in the north is signs that Germany wants Austria weakened and doesn't want Russia to feel bad.
I think, yeah, it's definitely Russia's doing very well. Everything's very defensive. It's kind of boring, but it all his moves were defensive. He hasn't made any new enemies. All he's really done is lost Sweden. Even England hasn't tapped STP. So I don't even know if he has enemies in the north anymore. You can say Silesia was a completely defensive move just so he doesn't get a supported attack on Warsaw. I think he's changing the tide so he has his pick of ally. And right now, I guess he's asking for all the good deals. It's not too late for a late juggernaut, especially with the Austria-Italy mess that has ensued.
Well, and this is very difficult for me to relate to, and why Village Idiot is a better player than I am. One of many reasons, but the demonstration of patience is sort of like a politician not responding to the populist crowds of the moment,
Hmm.
and seeing the longer term issues at stake. Village Idiot has a strategic long term plan about how to win this game by 1910. I don't know if he is going to win this game by 1910. Umble gave him an F for 1902, but I'm I'm not sure that he needed to make a move in '02, and I think he's got plenty of play left. As does Germany, actually. I think Germany's such a pivot here.
Yep, I was very critical myself just because I'm used to very aggressive play, but he's in a good position. He's not mixed up. There's a mess in the West. There's an Austria-Italy mess, and all he's doing is keeping Turkey out of the Black Sea. So I don't think anyone can really afford to attack him now. Everyone's pretty committed. So I think, yeah, I just see a juggernaut rolling soon, but I think it won't be. I think it'll be at the end of next year because right now I think Turkey is due one build, and Austria is going to give that to him somehow.
Okay,
And
so some predictions. I mean, honestly, if Bulgaria went to Turkey right now in exchange for Naples without Romanian help, you could still see a juggernaut, and it could look like AT was still cooperating.
correct.
Uh, but if that's the case, if Bulgaria was going to go, if there was going to be a trade, I just don't understand why Austria moved to Bulgaria instead of Greece.
I agree. Yeah, Greece was set up for another convoy. Uh, I
So
don't
I think
understand the
Austria
Bulgarian
is
move.
trying to, yeah, I think Austria is trying to preserve his
Gains.
options, which may be some short term thinking. I don't know. All
Yeah,
right, so some predictions. What's going to happen in the fall,
I
in the
hope
west,
that
in the
I,
east, and then we'll talk about the west.
I hope Austria not going to Bulgaria wasn't a greedy thing where he's just going to hold on to everything he can, but we'll see. Wes, yeah,
No,
easily.
in the east, though, I think somehow Conk is going to want Bulgaria. Conk is going to get a build. I don't know
Mm,
where it's coming from, but I predict that. That's not a genius prediction, but seems like that's got to happen.
I
Will
agree.
we see RT cooperation this fall, or might it hold off until '04?
I think it'll be '04 before you see any RT, just because I think they want to. I'd want to see if Turkey can actually get this dot on their own. If not, it's just best keeping him stalemated in the corner. You don't have to really commit more than their one unit to do so. Uh,
All right, predictions on Italy: defense Tunis or rogue run for Spain.
I think defends Tunis. I don't think it'll need a defensive Tunis, uh, but having that position gives them an opportunity to dislodge Ionian next year. So,
I agree, and I think that this will be the attempt. I mean, Conk can be selling Italy uh, on IT.
right.
Italy certainly wouldn't be opposed to it, given their weakened state. So, I don't discount that as a possibility. Okay, in the north, Are we going to see any German attack on Russia up there in the fall?
I think that he's already lost his position to push for the fall. I think this is going to be more of a defensive front right now. Just because
What
if they wanted to push STP, they should have done it in the spring. They wanted to push Warsaw, they could have done it in the spring as well, and he could have built in Berlin. So there's no foresight for a good Russian offensive. And
what do you think happens with the Silesian and Berlin armies that going on? Do you think it's a standoff, or do you think? Part of me thought this may be a feint for Russia to move to Galicia.
it might be. It depends what they work out. The fact that Germany is helping Italy might be in Russia's best interest. Even if they are an Austrian ally, it's still good for Austria not to get too big too fast. Um, I don't know. That Silesian army might hold, or they might broker a deal. But I think as defensive as Russia's been playing, I don't suspect that Silesia will go anywhere. Just because he doesn't want 2 units on Warsaw, and Germany is pretty close. It has 4 units, you know, pretty much on its
Yeah.
border.
Okay. So the big question is in the West, which is Brest can be forced, but only with German cooperation. And only, I think, if I'm reading it correctly, if England takes Brest with a fleet, uh, which might, will that happen? Or there's so much vulnerability there if Mao moved to English, Irish moved to Mao. I mean, I don't think Doc is going to give up Mao until he has to. But will England get a build through Brest, or will Germany say, "Look, I'm committed to this attack, England, but let's take Burr. Let's do this slowly." You know, uh, will that happen?
Depends on a
And if
few other
it,
factors, but I think they really need to take Brest. I think that's a good idea. Even if England vacates north, um, they can cover ENG, which
well,
might
should they
pull
take
some.
Brest with Picardy? I mean, they can force Brest with Picardy. I mean, with
No,
Picardy being there, you're saying you think the English fleet has to go to Brest?
yeah, because yeah, it Mid Atlantic's gonna tap the English Channel. It just
Well, they
has
could
to.
convoy. They could convoy Belgium to Brest. That could be a way to get an army there and not lose fleet position.
That might be a good idea as well. That convoy is great without losing position.
Well, the problem is that Belgium becomes open, right? So Burgundy moves to Belgium, which it probably doesn't. You'd think it has to cover Paris, uh, but that could be devastating if there was a convoy.
Hmm.
So then you wonder if Ruhr backfills into Belgium. I mean, a convoy gets tricky.
You're right. Yeah, I think putting the fleet in there, a fleet in Brest is not awful. Uh, and then you can use your other units to take Burgundy. Depends on the deal with Tyrol, but you still have 3 units on it if you want to take it. So that opens up Paris for the next year. They don't. They won't. Doc won't get a build because he'll lose Brest. Um,
Now, my other question is this: is now the time for England to take two dots off of Germany with Holland and Denmark? Make peace with France, who you know is urging that to happen. Let France worry about this awful developing situation in the east, and take out the guy with the most position. And will Germany let that happen? Does he self bounce in Denmark?
that's a good question. Man, I like France because France is more of an alliance player, even though he doesn't have an alliance at the moment. I don't see a stab happening. I think it's just way too soon. Um, yeah, Germany doesn't have position quite on England, but expecting France to just turn around is a little tough too. I don't know. I think that
Well, he'll
France
get a
needs to be
lot of
carved up.
cheering on from Russia, right? Russia wants France to live. So Russia is going to give, I assume would sell England on anything to do it. And a lot of intelligence is going to be gathered in the deadline. I don't know if it's too soon, but I think it's a danger if he couldn't guarantee two. But that
But
would
he,
be devastating to Germany.
if he got two though, he would have to leave North and Belgium, which makes it a little harder for the next year when you have those builds to secure what you already have.
Well,
I,
he could move English to Belgium, Belgium to Holland, north to Den, and he could build. I mean, there's no fleet that presents a danger at that point. He could build a fleet if he wanted to, but I think it could work. I'm looking at the board, but I don't know. I
it could
mean,
definitely
England.
work. As close as they've been working together, it would be a real unusual switch up. I think giving England that one center was enough incentive to keep them at bay.
This
I
is
don't
the point. I think if Germany at all pushes for Picardy to go to Brest or to suggest a slowdown for England, then I think England has to be thinking about what's in it for me.
I just don't think that's a sound move to even put Germany in Brest. I don't. It's not guaranteed, and Paris is much easier to defend for Germany. So
So, okay, which power would you like to play this turn?
mm. It is a mess,
Who's going to have the most
mess.
fun?
Um, I don't want to play Turkey because its moves are straightforward. Uh, Everyone else is just it's a disaster. There's so many options. I guess England. I would want to play England. They have, I think they have pretty much the straightforward moves. They have a lot more options. There's nothing really threatening them.
Okay, so we shall see how the fall turns out. And we thanks to Superstition Stitches for coming on the podcast. Thanks for diplomacybriefing.com for sponsoring us. And we'll put this up after the winter of 1903. Thanks, Superstition.